Well, good afternoon. It's Longhaultanker, straight razor shaving with Longhaultanker. And today is Wednesday, the 29th of January, 2025 at approximately 13:20. That's 1:20 p.m. Central Time. And I'm at home, obviously, as you can tell by my surroundings, in the master bathroom. And I've had a shower. I'm going to do a straight razor shave and kind of get you caught up on some events and storytelling. Don't let me forget, I was asked a very good question yesterday, what were all the events in my life that brought me to truck driving today? And I want to address at least the broad brush strokes of that question and my life, but we'll get to that in a little while. Let's introduce the equipment. I got another little, you may remember a few videos back, not too terribly long, using the CO Bigelow in the green tube, which is a Parasso. It's made by Parasso, it was labeled for CO Bigelow, and Bath and Body Works was selling, and they still sell some CO Bigelow products, but they've as far as I can tell, even on their website, they've discontinued selling the green or any other, the red, the blue shave soaps in the tube. And so anyway, a few videos back, you saw how my tube was breaking up and had product coming out of the tube and so forth. And I said, I'm going to take that out of the tube when I get home. So I had one of these little jars as for a product for my wife. And I put it in this jar. And the product in the bottom of the jar that looks flattened out is from the green tube, my CO Bigelow tube. Now, the other product that you see that's kind of piled up in a little mound there, I was given by one of the vendors, order something and they send you a little extra something. And they sent me a Parasso green little paper envelope pouch sort of thing. And so I just simply cut the top off of that and squeezed it all out of that paper pouch, because it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. One is labeled Parasso, the top mound is labeled Parasso, and the bottom product in there that's flattened out that you see is the CO Bigelow from that broken tube that I put in here. So that was that. I think it was just a little curiosity thing. And, save your little, your wife's going to have little makeup jars like this that come along. I've got 3 or 4 or 5 in my closet behind me. So I'll set that over there. Now we can move on with the rest of the equipment. My last video, I used the Taylor Eyewitness, Taylor's Master Barber. And I always forget to mention that the white scales, the quote-unquote ivory-looking scales, scales, I forget what the product is, but it's like a G4. It's some kind of synthetic. Anyway, it came with a crappy set of scales when I first bought it. Years and years, it's like one of my first vintage razors, and the black plastic crappy sort of thing. So I sent it off. At the time, the only person I knew, and it was 10 years ago, and I started June 10 years ago in this hobby. I sent it to Glenn Mercurio, also known as Gia Six Gun, and he replaced them for me. I've been very satisfied ever since, but I failed to give him credit in the last couple of videos that I've used that razor for replacing those scales for me. They've kind of faded a little bit over the years to where you go back and look at day before yesterday's video, you'll see that they've kind of browned, stained, up a little bit. No worries. All right. So in recognition of the comments I made about Taylor Eyewitness, we're going to use this Taylor Eyewitness. And by the way, I forget the viewer's name, but he sent me a very nice story. He's a 60-year-old gentleman, said that his, forgive me if I don't remember right, but father or grandfather had left him a Taylor Eyewitness 1000. And very common Taylor Eyewitness razor. And this is my mint conditioned Taylor Eyewitness. Let's see if I can get that to really come in and snap to. Almost. I don't understand. Close enough. And there's nothing on the backside. And so this is original condition, vintage, mint condition. And I bought this about 4 years ago, and when I saw it on eBay, I said, I have to have that. And I think I paid between $90 and $100 for this, and consider myself fortunate to have won that bid. I think I was the only bidder on this razor. And so again, these are plastic scales. There's nothing extraordinary. They're not horn. They're not black horn. I do like the fact that it's a 3-pin, but nonetheless, this was honed up on, just like the previous Taylor Eyewitness, honed up on a caudicle, my caudicle A, which I have right down here below the sink where I'm standing. In fact, let me see if I can get to it easily. Maybe so, right here. Maybe so. Yeah. Right here. Here's my caudicle A. And it's just a wonderful, and probably more importantly, I know how to use it. I can't say I'm an expert, but I go through my customary routine on this. I can't tell you why. It just does. And so I go through my customary routine on this. And when I'm done, it either works or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, I go back and do some more. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I do some more. I'm water, slurry, down to thin, down to water only, then under running water, you know. And that's all there is to that. I'm not what you call a master, but I am persistent. And I'll just keep after it and after it until I get an edge that works. And off that stone, I've been reasonably successful over the years. Now, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Perked up coffee in a traditional percolator. All right, where am I going? So we got the razor. The soap is going to be Martin de Condé Fougère. Just lovely soap. Love that soap. And so let's see. And then the brush. We got soap that's from France, and then now we've got a brush that's from France. The Poisson number 20, 30 millimeter high mountain white, set in natural horn handle, and lovely brush. And I'll just say this as an add-on to what I just said, lovely brush, and it damn well should be for $1,000. I'm not kidding. All right. About, what was that, 3-4 years ago, my wife and I came into a little bit of a settlement thing. And it was a nice sum. And we gave each other an allowance off of that. and then put the rest of it in the bank, of course. And this is one of the things that I purchased with my share of the allowance. And there's a guy at one of the forums, and he talks about his Poisson High Mountain White. And from the longest time back, that stuck with me. And I said, if I can ever squeeze it out, I'm going to get one. And I'm glad I did. I can't say that I would do it again, because quite frankly, $1,000 for this brush versus $300 for a Simpson Chubby 3 Super Badger, I would buy that one again all day long. Or the Manchurian Simpson Chubby 3. Now the $300 Super Badger is a lovely soft brush. I say soft, medium. Yeah, I like it. Like it just fine. The Manchurian Badger, which you can't get it off of Amazon or for as far as I know any other U.S. distributor. You have to order the Manchurian directly from Simpson. And they'll ship it to you from Europe, from England, coming through Charles de Gaulle Airport, International Freight Airport in Paris. So where are they located? Simpson, the Isle of Wight, I think it is, or one of those over there. Islands that... Anyway, but it took about 10 days for it to come through all the custom stuff to from ordering to my doorstep. It took about 10 days, which I'm going to say it's faster. Now I've ordered some stuff from Japan at some of those vendors over there, eBay vendors, and they've gotten stuff has gotten to my house in like 5 days. So whatever deal they've got with customs to ship faster, I don't know. So when we last met, day before yesterday, I had made delivery on my product on Monday. Today is Wednesday. On Monday, made delivery. I had gotten back on Saturday afternoon from Midland, Odessa. Had those 3 tires blow out on me. Don't ask me how or why. When I got to the customer for delivery and I got all hooked up, I just happened to look at my tires quite coincidentally, and there it was. Had a big blowout. The tread was gone. All that remained on the wheel was the sidewalls. Then I got looking a little bit closer, and sure enough, I had another one. That was on the drive set of wheels, there's 2 axles, on front, forward, and a back. And so this was the forward, right-hand side, forward, outside tire that was completely blown out and destroyed. And apparently something happened because it hit the rear tire right behind it. And it too was flat, but it didn't have the complete tread blowout like the one in front of it had, but it was flat nonetheless. And then the one on the driver's side, forward axle, inside tire, was also flat. And I'm thinking, how in the world did all this happen? Now this would come off of the heels of driving all night Thursday night, all afternoon, got loaded at 12 noon, left down here, and got to Midland, Odessa at about 11:30 at night. And so there's no telling how that happened. And as a little aside note from me as a driver, I don't really care how it happened. It still happened. Anyway, I unloaded the product and I limped over to the Love's Truck Stop at Midland. It's kind of like a second home after all these breakdowns I've had over there. And so by the time they got the tires changed and released me, it was between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I wasn't going to drive all night again. Forget that. So I just hunkered down for the rest of the day right there at the Love's Midland, Odessa for Monday. No, yes, Monday. And came on back to the yard on Tuesday. And I was told, that's not right. That don't sound right. Anyway, because Wednesday, I got back to the yard on Wednesday. Now, maybe I stayed somewhere on Tuesday night. I don't think I did. Maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, when I got back to the yard on Wednesday, it was one of those freeze days that we had down here in Houston. And my boss, and just as I was getting ready, I packed up and I was getting ready to head home, and my boss pulled up to the office. You know, oh, my heart sank because I was looking forward to going home. And I said, I suppose you're going to use me tomorrow? He said, yes. So I laid over on Tuesday, Wednesday, because the next one was Thursday. I'm losing track of time, sorry. That was coming back from Amarillo, the load I had, because today's day number 11 on the road. And I drove in from Beaumont, Texas this morning. And so that was a Wednesday because he gave me the load for Friday delivery in Midland, Odessa. And so this would be the Wednesday. And I laid over on the yard. on that Wednesday after I got back from Amarillo. Then I did the Midland Odessa load. Drove all night Thursday, delivered on Friday. Got back on Saturday. He had a load for me going to Alabama. And that's where I'm coming back from because I made delivery on Monday morning. Everything went fine. But I noticed yesterday, well, anyway, after delivery, Monday in Alabama, I only had 5 hours left on my, 4.5 hours left on my drive clock. So I drove to delivery, made delivery, and drove back to the Love's Truck Stop south of Montgomery, Alabama, at Hope Hull. And that's where I did my last video from. And so yesterday, I got 14 hours or 12 hours back. And when I say I got 14 hours back, I'm talking about DOT hours of service regulations and rolling hours. 70 hours in 8 days, 8 days go by, you start picking up however many hours you had used on that 8th day prior. And just day by day, you pick up a certain set of hours. I don't know if you can hear me. I got some of my favorite meditation, sleep, relaxation music playing from YouTube. We'll see if I get dinged for that. Boy, I do love the scent of the Fougere on the Martin de Condé. There are 3 scents that I just absolutely love. The Fougere, the vetiver, and the original, which smells like a lavender bergamot. Just absolutely delicious scent. And when I think about a soap lathering up the way it should, Martin de Condé is just perfect. I just love the way that it just lathers up. It just doesn't stop. Very much like a sterling soap in that respect. Or maybe I should put it the other way around, since this one's $70 a jar and most of sterling is what, 20, $15, $20, $25 a jar. Now, somebody did, is Martin de Condre an expensive soap? Yes, generally speaking. $70 out of pocket for most of their scents. But it's what is it, 100 grams? Let me take a look. Yeah, I can't see where it says it right off, but I believe it's 100 grams per jar. I think. Don't hold me to that. It might be 200 now that I'm thinking about it. And, but somebody, and I think it was Jared some years ago, he had a scale there and he set it to 0 and he put the jar on it, set it to 0. And then he lathered up a brush and did a shave, and he came back after lathering up and weighed the jar that he had just lathered up, and it was X amount minus what he had started with. And then he calculated that all out based upon the cost of the jar, and it's very economical from what he's. And I believe it was Jared. I don't believe I'm wrong on that, though I could be. And I think it's one of the finest soaps ever made. Like I say, I've got the rose and I've got the lemon citrus agrumes scented. The citrus is okay. I bought the rose only out of sentimentality for my mother. She loved rose. And this is about 3 years ago. My mother's been long passed. Oh, that's just wonderful. Wonderful. And a conical, the unique characteristic of a conical is that it's smooth. It has a buttery smooth, it leaves a buttery smooth feeling on the face when you're done with the shave. Does it feel as sharp or crisp as, say, an Arkansas or comparable synthetic? No, it's not a crisp. And so that's why some people say it doesn't feel sharp. Well, it may very well not feel sharp, but that's not to say that it isn't sharp. So just be mindful that, you keep digging, and you'll cut yourself wide open because the conical edge is sharp. It just comes across, I can't explain it. Who can, based upon the garnets and the substrate material that is, holding the garnets in place after, all those years of baking and incubating in the earth. Anyway, I wanted to use this Taylor Eyewitness razor, my mint condition, because it's in my mint condition collection. I got 2 Fritz Brocks. I got 2 early Dovo. One of them is a, oh my goodness. What is that? That Dovo piece that has the Spanish point on it, and it's all gold. What do they call it? Anyway, there's a vintage version. That doesn't look anything like the modern 5/8. Recently, they made a 6/8 version of the Bergischer Low. That's it. Bergischer Low. Now, one of the things I find very interesting about this razor, we postulated in the last video that Taylor Eyewitness terminated production. It was either 1924 or 1934. 91 years? Really? And I've got this shows no signs of restoration. It shows no signs of it having been, thrown in a drawer and it rusted and somebody got a hold of it and cleaned it up. No, this looks like it's right off of the storeroom shelf. It's absolutely beautiful. And so it's 91 years old and has maintained its integrity all that while. And I just find that absolutely fascinating. Either somebody got a hold of it and took very good care of it over the years, decades, which is certainly possible. I find it less likely. I wouldn't even know how to explain the circumstances that would suggest a natural Yes, somebody threw it in the back of a drawer, but it went for the next, 50 years, 60 years with nobody paying any attention to it. Or threw it in a box and got it packed away in a garage somewhere. See, that's where I would think it would rust. If somebody just left it in a garage for 50 years. But nonetheless, here it is. Here it is. So here's the other part of the story that I want to share with you, and it just knocks my socks off, quite frankly. Is so I got back today. I left this morning at 7 o'clock from Beaumont, the Love's Truck Stop in Beaumont, Texas, and drove back to the yard. And I was exactly 60 miles from the yard at the truck stop this morning. Got up, had my alarm set for 6:15. My goal was to get rolling by 7 a.m., which I did. And so I get in this morning, turned in my paperwork, and my boss says to me, "How many days you want off?" I said, "Are you really asking me? You want my opinion?" He said, "Yeah." I was shocked. Oh, that's my shocked face. Oh. And he says to me, because it's Wednesday, and it's Wednesday morning, it's about 8:30. I'm sitting at his desk after I drop the trailer and do a couple of post-trip things on the truck and trailer. And he says, "You want off till Monday?" I said, "Monday?" I said, "Now we're acting like it's the old company because, my new boss is the same as my old boss at the former company." And of course, he was the terminal manager at the former company, just like he is here. And so he had 150 drivers under his command at the old location. And so many of those drivers, he knows them as well as he knows me. And he says to me, "Well, you've had a bit of a run of bad luck with all the breakdowns that you've had." And I said, "Doesn't bother me that much because I was in a hotel room enjoying myself." He said, "Yeah, maybe so, but for the last 4 weeks, you've been broke down a lot." And I said, "That may be so, but I've gotten everything done you've asked me to do." And he said, "That's true, you have. That's why, I'm telling you, ever since Florida and the broken oil pan, the punctured oil pan, and then 2 breakdowns in Midland, Odessa, he says, "Do you want off till Monday?" And I said, if you're offering, I'll take it. And so the way that'll probably play out is come Sunday, I'll probably get the order for my load on Monday, and I'll probably head down to the truck on Sunday night and hook up to the trailer, sleep in the truck. Load time will be anywhere from 5 a.m. to 12 noon. No telling. And but regardless of what time the load time is, I'll be at the truck on Sunday afternoon, Sunday early evening, get all hooked up, ready to go. And the thing that even my boss now, and he didn't pay that much attention to me, I don't think, when I was one of 150 or so. I don't think he paid that close of attention to me to see how I handled my daily operations. I get assigned a load. He knows I had a good on-time delivery rate and ratio, and that's why he was happy. That's why he was happy enough to hire me here, because I got the job done. And okay. But and so that's why I go down to the truck the night before, is I don't have to get up and leave the house at 3 a.m. to get down there for a 6 a.m., a 7, 8, 9 a.m. No, I take care of all that stuff. Hook up the trailer, do the pre-trip inspection, get everything in order. Now, let me tell you about a little problem I had when I hooked up for this Alabama load. Okay, now I realize most of you are not involved with trucking. You may have some faint, distant acquaintance with trucking, but every time a tractor backs up underneath a trailer and hooks to that kingpin with the fifth wheel plate, if it's not done and coordinated well enough, the force that hits against that from the fifth wheel plate to the kingpin, the force that hits against it on the trailer will bend the landing gear. And the landing gear is that piece where you crank down the feet, and the feet rest on the ground, and that's what holds the trailer up when there's no tractor underneath it. When the tractor's underneath it, you roll the landing gear up, those feet come up, and now the full weight of the trailer is resting on the fifth wheel plate, and the weight is distributed throughout the frame and the chassis and the wheels and so forth. But if you come up against that thing too hard, the legs on the fifth wheel, or not the fifth wheel, the landing gear, they get bent. And you try and crank up those legs that are bent, and it's impossible because you're trying to lift 45,000 pounds. Oh, and you can't do it. And every time I have found myself in that position where the landing gear legs were bent, in the old company, you call the shop, they send over the yard truck, they raise the trailer up, you raise the landing gear with no weight on it, and they usually straighten out real quick when there's no weight on it. But if there's weight on it, you're going to have a devil of a time raising that landing gear. And so Saturday, late afternoon, when I got back from Odessa, and I had my Alabama load and trailer, that's the kind of problem I ran into. I had a devil of a time raising that landing gear. And I could see by the way the legs were bent, which direction. And I told my boss this morning, I said, let me tell you what I did. I used the force of the tractor underneath the trailer to force those landing gear legs to straighten out. And so, I just pushed back against it using the force of the tractor to push against the legs. But it took me almost 40 minutes to think that through and say, well, why can't I just use the tractor and push against those legs? That could not have been, I won't say the best play, but given the circumstances, I had no other choice. I had no other play available to me. And so I says to my boss, I said, because we're not as big a company as our former company, that I can just call the shop 24/7 and say, hey, send the yard truck down here. I said, so what's my play? If I had not gotten those legs up, what would you have had me do? And he just kind of got this, give me a call. That's all you can do. Because, I'm not a young man. I am not, there are 25-year-old men who are built like Superman. And, and that's okay. That's the way things should be in life. Young men should be strong. And healthy. And, I say healthy because I've been listening to Robert Kennedy's hearings today as I was taking my shower and getting ready. No haircut today because I did one on Monday. You'll remember from the last video. Anyway, young men should be strong. But even the strongest of young men cannot lift 40,000 pounds. It just, it would take a real Superman to get that done. Or maybe I should say the real Superman. Of course, there never was. Of course, if that had happened, he said, give me a call. I call the mechanic. The mechanic will come out and get one of the yard trucks. And it's all that can be done. But he also said it with an acknowledgement and a recognition that I'm not a young Superman anymore. And that as an older senior man, which led me to say to him, when he offered me till Monday off, I said, are we getting slow? are we going into a slow season? Because, you know, trucking companies have their cycle just like so many others. And I'm hearing from my friends from the old company that they've been in a slow cycle for quite some time. The best person that does that maneuver that I just did around the lip and the mouth, coming in like this, Matty Lindholm. Give Matty Lindholm, watch how he does around the lip and the mouth. Right here. And I watch a lot of guys, even some of my favorites that I make mention of from time to time. This area of the lip and around the mouth right here, my opinion, my word of advice, stop trying to do it with a closed mouth. Watch how the corner of the mouth, especially, you know, how the skin tends to bunch up. See where it bunched up right down in here in the corner? The weight, the pressure on the skin is making the skin bunch up right down here in the corner of the mouth. Well, that's a ripe area for getting a cut. Well, okay, so take the bunching up out of it by opening the mouth and stretching the skin around the mouth. And I'm using my tongue right behind this corner right here to push out. And so, especially going both up and down, it don't matter. Other side, watch the other side. Do that with an open mouth and you'll be satisfied. It worries me to death. I see some of you doing that with a closed mouth. And what is it? I'm just waiting for that cut because the skin is bunching up right down there in the corner, and all of a sudden you're going to get a cut that goes right into that soft skin. So I've got till Monday off. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I got 5 days off. Go back before I got to go back to the truck. Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. And I told my wife that, and she was happy. And so my coffee, we got the percolator and we got the Keurig little cup thing. You put the little plastic cups in and so forth. But that coffee, those little plastic cups, I don't care what brand you use, never strong enough. Never strong enough. So we have run out of whole bean ground coffee. And my wife says she's not going to buy any more until we get through some of these little Keurig cups. And we got a whole closet full of Keurig cups, she says. And that's fine. And so there was a box of about 8 Keurig cups sitting on our little coffee bar that we have in the dining room. And I just popped the little paper top off of it and poured the coffee grounds down into the coffee where we put the coffee grounds in for, the new grounds, a little plastic container we've got. So one of the things I've been complaining about on the truck for such a long while is the air conditioner. It's not working regular and consistent. And as soon as I pulled up today, here comes the mechanic. We only got one mechanic to my truck, pops the hood on the thing, hooks up some tester, and looks like he's putting in some Freon. Anyway, and so he comes back and he says, well, your truck's going to be down for a while. It may have to go to the shop because what's wrong may be beyond what I'm able to do here on the yard. Okay, fine, I don't care. If that means I got to be off longer, you got 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And if it needs longer than that, that's all right. I can stay home. I do not mind. And it's just like I used to do at the old company. I did not mind extended days off, waiting for a part to come in, a repair to be made. I did not mind. Especially when my wife is working now. I told you about the new job she got about right after the first of the year. And we're all very happy about that. All right, I'm going to go with that. Leave it there. Got to leave some for Saturday. What's today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Friday. Now my wife will be working from home on Friday, and so we'll see what happens. I may or may not come back on camera until after I go back to work. Okay, so I'm going to do a head shave here in a minute, but I'm just going to show this razor off one more time. Taylor, I know you can't sit there. Well, I think that's about as good as we're going to get it, right? Oh, where'd it go? It faded out. Taylor Eyewitness, right there. Mint condition vintage, 1934, 1924. That's a beautiful Sheffield, conical edge, and that's just a smooth. That's just as smooth and as it's sharp, but it was a smooth shave and it was just wonderful. Just wonderful. Okay, so say goodbye to Sheffield, and we're going to come back with a Dovo, Colonel Ichabod Conk, Dovo, Soligen. No number on it. Now, these scales are not original. I bought this razor from, like so many of my old vintage razors that are nominal quality. I bought those from J.R. Rowan's. I think I said his name right, in Los Angeles, and he's kind of gone AWOL off of his eBay store. Don't know where he's gone off to, and I hate to think that he succumbed to the COVID stuff, because that was about the time he went missing. All right. Now, because I'm going to be home over the next several days, especially on the weekdays, Thursday and Friday, tomorrow and the next day, I may do some supplemental videos. Since I'm going to be home alone, I've got nothing particularly better to do than to sleep and get caught up on my rest. But I might do a honing video. I may do a presentation on my gear, all my stones, all my razors, just lay it all out. I forgot to tell the story about how I got to where I'm at today as a truck driver. Let me tell that story. Sorry, I forgot. Sorry it took so long to get here, but it's not a particularly interesting story. I do not come from a family of truck drivers. And for a lot of people that go into truck driving, you talk to them and they will tell a very similar story to what I'm about to tell. And it's a sad story. And it's one I'm not particularly fond of telling, but it's a story largely of failure. And unless you come from a family of truck drivers and break the code on how to make real money at being a truck driver, You cannot make much of a living coming in as a company truck driver and when I started, and when I first started, I have two beginnings with truck driving. One is 2006 and the other one is 2012. You cannot make much of a living at $350 a week going to truck driving school and going to work for JB Hunt or Warner as a company driver at $350 to $450 a week. And that's not even every week. That just depends upon the miles. You get paid by the mile, and that's anywhere from 18 to 35 cents a mile. And my first venture in 2006 into truck driving was absolute disaster. And if I had known that it was going to be, or even held out the possibility of being such a disaster, I likely would not have gone to truck driving, but that begs the question, what would I have done? Now here's how that story starts. I've got a master's degree in divinity, a 90-hour, 3-year graduate degree. And I can't say it was always my dream as I was growing up, but it was certainly my mother's dream that I should be a pastor or preacher in our church. And be that as it may, I went to all the right schools, 4-year undergraduate, started off at a junior college, one of our Christian junior colleges. That's why I have such a fascination with York, Nebraska, because that's where I went to my junior college years. So, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master of divinity degree. I did all the right steps, went through the progression, and I'm not going to tell all of the heartbreaking stories. But if you're going to be a pastor, you've either got to go with the flow or have an independent means of making an income. And I've never been a go with the flow kind of guy. Number one, it's just not in my nature. And number two, the things that you have to say and do to be a go with the flow kind of guy, just turn on the Senate hearing, committee hearings, interviewing Robert Kennedy today, right now, and you'll see what I mean. So I have never been that kind of person. Go with the flow. Oh, you can't say that. You'll hurt somebody's feelings. And I wonder even why people bother to become a pastor, except to get in the money stream of playing the game. Forget about what the Bible says. Forget about preaching the Word of God. Forget about being like Jesus, being like the apostles, being like the Old Testament prophets, like John the Baptist. And so just forget about it, because you will not be accepted. You will be tormented. You will be trampled upon. And even here on these videos and some of the things that I have said and the kickback that I have gotten from some of those things, it just shows you it's a microcosm of where the world is at. And look what Trump is doing with no men and women's sports, taking transgenderism out of, it's a mental disorder. And until we come to terms with that and embrace it, that these people are mentally imbalanced and borderline insane, we're going to have a big fight on our hands. And when you begin to acknowledge that and say it to others, hey, this ain't right. This isn't what we're supposed to, this trend. And I just use that as an example. And every other biblical immorality and sin that you begin to, there are things you preach for and things you preach against. And there are 2/3 as many things that the Bible teaches against as there are 1/3 of things that the Bible teaches or preaches for. It's easy to preach forgiveness. It's easy to preach, God loves you, or the grace of God, or however you want to, other thing. But you start preaching against stuff, watch out, because the enemies will start pouring out of the woodwork. And go back and look at what Nehemiah had to go through when he started preaching, hey, and I didn't even put it until this very instant. Did I put it together when Nehemiah was preaching, we must build the walls. We must restore the walls. Of course, isn't that kind of where we're at today about building the border walls, etc.? Of course we are. And look and those that advocate, building the border walls, whether it's Donald Trump or Tom Holman, the new border czar, arresting 1,800 illegal aliens, just saying illegal aliens. Oh my God, saying illegal aliens, which is a perfectly legitimate and legal term to say, because it means something. It has a legal definition in our law. Illegal alien. We don't say in the law, as I understand it, we don't say undocumented immigrant. That's a term the media wants to use to soften the impact of illegal alien. They don't want to say illegal. How is it illegal? How can a human being be illegal? Kiss my... who was it? Was it Marco Rubio? Who said it here just to one of the... J.D. Vance, God bless him, said to one of these news reporters that he just smacked the crap out of. He said, well, the fact of the matter is nobody really cares what you think anymore. It was just beautiful. Somebody come up with one of these accusatory things like, well, you can't say that. If you say that, you're a racist. Well, the fact of the matter is nobody cares about what you think anymore. And ain't that the truth? And the media is falling right back into the old patterns of trying to insult and humiliate people back into their little rabbit hole. And it ain't working. And they keep coming up embarrassed, slapped down. And it's just a thing of beauty to behold. And I love it, absolutely love it. And I know some of you do too, because you're texting me and telling me that you love it as well. So when your friends are saying, isn't Donald Trump being a racist for closing the border? Isn't Donald Trump being a racist for closing down all of the funding and to check out all of these, to see where the money is going? Don't pay them any attention. Nobody cares what they think anymore, and it needs to be called out on them. because it's like somebody once said, elections have consequences. We won and you lost. Who said that? Who said that? Oh, let me help you. B.O. to John McCain about Obamacare. When he was going to ram it through, and he did, those many years ago, and they still haven't gotten rid of it. That's one of the things that Robert Kennedy is going to do is and I didn't know this. Listening to Kennedy today before the committee, that a Medicare and Medicare Advantage is based upon a fee-for-service method of payment. And Medicaid is based upon welfare. It is not a fee-for-service arrangement. And consequently, it is, Kennedy said that it wasn't as good, or I inferred that from what he said, that it wasn't as a good arrangement but it's more of a welfare thing instead of I suppose, a pay-as-you-go sort of thing. And so they're trying to figure out in this discussion how they were going to move Medicaid to be more in line with something like Medicare. And that makes sense to me. Anyway, why would anybody become a pastor today? Only to subvert and pervert the Word of God. That's the only reason. I can't think of anybody who goes into ministerial work today with the true motivation and purpose of preaching the Word of God, being a true servant of God, and a true servant of the Word, and all that exactly means, because my experience has been in 20 years of full-time and part-time pastoral work is that the people love to have their ears tickled and not to be preached the Word of God. And it's a sad commentary, but now, I say all of that in the context of how did I get into truck driving? And the fact of the matter is, truck driving is oftentimes, there's 120% turnover in truck driving annually of all truck drivers. And so whatever that number is of all truck drivers, that number gets turned over 125% annually. Now, there's some truck drivers that stay in trucking because they're good enough, they've had a successful enough career, which is to say they've never had an accident, because if you have X number of accidents in X amount of time, you're out, and they turn you over. They do not adequately, the schools and the trucking companies and the individuals themselves, because of the money that's in it, they tend to attract the bottom of the barrel dregs of society. Excuse me, it's the truth. Dregs of society into trucking. And so when somebody's kind of, and it's really a heart-wrenching thing to have to acknowledge, to admit, and to say about yourself, when you've hit the bottom and you've got nowhere else to turn, and somebody says, hey, there's always truck driving. Truck driving is a bottom of the barrel job. They treat you like a slave until you've actually been in it long enough to get a little bit of a reputation that says, hey, I'm okay. I'm not going to take your $200,000 tractor trailer and equipment and ouch. And beat the heck out of it, and or have an accident would be a better illegal accident on the road. And so that's how I came to truck driving, was out of desperation. And I often say, my mother said, shoot for the stars. And I did, and I ended up in the cab of a truck. And I say that humorously as a form of a sad commentary on my life. Now, that's the way I personally feel about it, and I don't mind saying it. I did not go to school and get a graduate degree, a master's degree, for 7 years to end up driving a truck. There, I said it out loud. I did, who goes to school for 7 years to do something like be a pastor, and with like anything in life, it takes a while, especially as it pertains to the arts, communication. I wasn't a natural communicator. I would say it probably took me close to 10 years after leaving school, and I was only in the business for approximately 20 years, full-time, part-time, and volunteer, 20 years, well, which is to say about 17 years full-time paid employed. And it took me 10 years really to find my best voice as a pastor, to stand in the pulpit, to feel strong, to feel confident, to look out over 500 people and preach and teach and hold their attention and start from point A and progress through, hold their attention and draw them to a conclusion and feel like you did a good job. And to do that 4 times a week. But I started feeling pretty good at it by about year 10. But I suppose that's natural enough. But as time went on, you offended the kids, you offended grandma, you offended. And that's all I heard for most of my preaching career. And somebody says they're going to run for Congress. Were you going to run as a Democrat or a Republican? Or America First, a Donald Trump supporter? And, well, I'm going to run as a America First Donald Trump supporter. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that, some of these people might say. No, we're not looking to go that direction. Anyway, there's a lot of politics, and anymore, it's like watching the Kennedy hearings today. Mr. Kennedy, will you commit that you will promise not to fire any of these people under your employ at the Health and Human Services, that blah, 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 blah. No, Congressman, I will not commit to that. In fact, that's the very thing we're looking forward to rooting out. And of course, you know, you got to have a lot of support. You got a lot of personal fortitude to look at that square in the eye and say, no, you're wrong, and we're coming after you. And that's the kind of person I always was. So how did I get into truck driving to where I'm at today? I've been a truck driver now, former company, September of last year, 13 years. So now I've survived almost September to October, November, December, January, so 4 months, so 13 years and 4 months. And, you know, I've got my, and once, well, I'm not going to go into all that, but I survived what happened over there because of the new boss being the old boss and able to come over. And he kind of salvaged my career at 65 years of age. Can you imagine? What am I going to do? If I hadn't gone back to a company, at first, anyway, well, it wasn't all that I thought it was going to be. Although it was good money, equal money to the former. And I will say this too, for all of my belly aching and griping about truck driving, whether it's the old job or this job, compared to where I was in pastoral ministry, working for a church, preaching work. This job afforded me enough, along with my wife working and us two together working toward a common goal, which goes back to another proposition with my first wife, not working toward a common goal, not being a partner in life, to work toward these important goals. My wife now of almost 17 years, 16 and a half years, working toward the common goal. We've purchased, I can't say we own, but we've purchased 2 homes. And I could never have said that in pastoral work and the peanuts. So working up those almost 13 and a half years in truck driving, and my belly aching along the way, and my profound sense of disappointment in life. My wife is an angel sent to me by God to keep my spirits up and put one foot in front of the other every day. And so when you hear about a man going into truck driving later in life, in his late 40s, early 50s, there's a sad story behind that. There's a sad story. And it's going to be very much a story like the one I've just told. Something, because the real question to ask yourself is, in the moment, in the heat and passion and urgency and immediacy of the moment, what does a preacher do when he can't preach? And the short answer is he goes drive a truck because there's nothing else to do. It takes 6 weeks to go through a truck driving course. My first time through in truck driving school in 2006, I lived off my credit card for about 2 months. You can say that was a mistake, and probably was, but again, in the heat and urgency of the moment, what else do you do? So, now the second time I went through truck driving school in 2012, my wife was where my new wife of the, my current wife, 16 and a half years, and an angel that she is. We did the truck driving thing all over again in 2012, having been through it myself after the divorce from the first marriage. Anyway, probably more personal stuff there that I've said that I probably should say about my own personal life, about how I ended up as a truck driver, and the personal, and I don't mind saying it, and it's a hard pill to swallow, the personal disappointment of ending up a truck driver when that's not at all what I wanted or intended for my life to be. So again, more than I wanted to say about my life, but I'm moderately happy. Work, career, manliness, because man finds his satisfaction in his work. And if you're not happy with your work, and it were it not for the gift of God from heaven in my wife, anyway, but she did, but the gift was sent and the message was received. And so we put one foot in front of another every day and do the best we can. And that's all you can do. It's all you can do. And sometimes sometimes we kind of tease about straight razor shaving, that sharp is sharp enough. And that's true. But that simplicity of explanation oftentimes finds application in many areas of life. Good is good enough. Sharp is sharp enough. And so let's get a couple more things done here and call it quits. I'm going to stop that story right there because I'm going to have to, well, no, I'll just leave it there. Just leave it right there. Oh, I meant to say about the Dovo and the Colonel Conk was that before my shower, after I had a little bite to eat after I got home, I got to the yard about 8 o'clock and I got out of there by about 9 o'clock, got home by about 10 or so. And of course, what did I say? About 1:30 or something? I started to say something, I forgot what it was. All right. We got some Thayer lavender. Yeah, I'm going to let that video stand. I'm going to post it up. Like I say, an awful lot of personal stuff about my own life and my view of truck driving, which I will be honest, my view of truck driving isn't much. I think it's kind of like, who was it? Chris Christopherson, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't let your babies grow up to be truck drivers. Now, if they're coming into a trucking company that's worth millions of dollars, that's another matter, But, okay, what was that? That was Whiskey Woods, Pinard Clubman. And when my wife comes home this afternoon, I'm going to put on the good stuff. And I agree with Eric, the Cajun Blade, this stuff is pretty good stuff. Like it just fine. And I'm going to do something I haven't done in a very long time. I'm going to move my coffee cup way out of the way over here so nothing splashes into it. And we're going to use some powder, Panad Clubman, and that's cornstarch powder, if I'm not mistaken. Oh my. Yeah, I'm going a little crazy on it, but woo! Okay. Okay, we'll go with that, I guess. All right, what am I forgetting? Well, for an hour and 40 minutes, I hope you were entertained. All right, that's it. Thank you very much, and I will see you down the road.